everybody, this is Macy.
And Rachel, and you're listening to the Farmington Public Library podcast, where we keep you in the loop of all the library happenings.
And up to date on all the books that should be on your to-read list. The following content does not reflect the views or opinions of the City of Farmington or its employees. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Farmington Public Library podcast. We are excited for the month of February, at least I know I am. I have always associated the month of February with all things Valentine's Day, and I love Valentine's Day. So for this episode, we are excited to get into book recommendations on if you're someone who also loves Valentine's Day, if you love a good romantic comedy book, if you love a book that has a happy ending, this is the episode for you. Which I would like everybody to know that I am wearing a Valentine sweater for this recording.
I want everybody to know that I'm not wearing a Valentine's shirt because I didn't know we were doing that today.
We are also going to be talking about February being Black History Month, so we have some book recommendations to go along with that as well.
So, Macy, queen of romantic comedy books.
Yes.
So there are 5 romantic comedy titles that I have here, and I'm going to read you a short description of one, and you get a point if you can tell me the title of the book and the author. And bonus points if you can tell me the main character and the love interest. Out of the millions of books there are, you're gonna just... And I don't know what you've read, so...
Oh, okay, great.
Right?
Awesome.
If you don't get a 5 out of 5...
That's okay.
That's okay, we learned about a cool book.
That's okay, sink or swim. I'm ready.
The first one is a YA romance where ex-best friends are forced to work together in a survival course competition in order to take the grand prize.
Gosh, I don't know, Rachel. Can you tell me who it's by?
Talia Hibbert.
I don't know the title of it.
Okay.
I don't know this one. What is it? Tell me.
It's highly suspicious and unfairly cute. It sounds good to me. So we've learned about a cool new book that I'm putting on my to-read list when I put this quiz together. Ready for the second one?
I am.
Okay, this is an adult romance where the son of the U.S. president tries to do some tabloid damage control by faking a relationship with his longtime nemesis, the British prince.
Oh, is it Royal White and Blue?
Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know the author at all?
No.
Okay.
I don't know the author. But I have read it, and I like it.
Yeah, Casey McQuiston?
That one got super popular on TikTok.
Yeah, I think so. You were really close. Like, that's probably half a point. Third one. A YA romance about a grief-stricken teen who joins a catering crew in shenanigans during her summer job.
Oh, that's Sarah Dessen's The Truth About Forever.
Yay!
That was my favorite middle school book when I was in the 6th grade. I picked it off the shelf at the library because the main female character, whose name is Macy, is the reason I picked it up, and her male love interest is named Wes.
Wow, you got 4 points for that.
Additionally, can this be a bonus point?
Sure.
The catering company's name is Wishbone.
It's been a long time since I read it. First, I gotta say, Sarah Dessen, great romance YA author, if anybody's looking for something new to pick up. Next book, a college-age sports romance about a competitive figure skater that gets stuck sharing the ice with the captain of the school's hockey team.
Is it Icebreaker?
Yes. Icebreaker.
Is it by Anna Grace?
So close.
What's the author?
Hannah Grace.
Hannah Grace. Okay, I was close.
That's a half point that I just made up in our made-up scoring. All right, last one for points.
Okay, I'm ready.
An adult second chance romance where the sunshine main character risks it all by sending a secret admirer letter to the stuffy Ivy League professor.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I know this one. Oh, I don't know. I want to guess so bad, but I don't even, nothing's even ringing.
Do you have the title or the author?
I want the author.
Tessa Bailey.
Oh, she has so many. Oh, she has so many. She has so many titles. I feel like I can't even guess this.
Ready.
Which one is it?
Secretly Yours.
Secretly Yours. Okay, well that makes sense. That checks out.
You still got a lot of points. Well, that was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. Putting this together, I learned about so many cute romance books I now have on my list to read. Now that we have established that I do read a fair amount of romantic comedy and I can have an opinion on it, I feel like justifiably so. Yes. Let's talk about what program we want to feature this month. Okay, so this month we're going to talk about the tween book boxes. This is a new program. We're starting a whole bunch of new tween stuff that will be coming later in the year, but this is our first thing, and you can sign up now. This is for ages 9 to 11. So they can sign up. They just do a little survey about the types of things they like based on other books they've read or genres they like, or even TV shows they may like. And then they turn that in, and we use that to pick out books for them that they may be interested in that the library has. And we put those in a box together with a bunch of fun things that are all built around a theme. Except for the books, everything in the box will be themed under our current theme, which is the power of friendship. So we'll do some craft projects in there. We'll have some lists of other books under the theme that they might want to check out. It's a whole bunch of stuff just in this box for them to take home, and they just take those home. We check out the books to them, and then when they're done, they just bring the box and the books back.
And the form is available online or at the library, correct?
So the form is online and at the library. There's links on our Facebook page, and we'll have that on the website as well. And the signups will be available until March, so there's a lot of time to go ahead and sign up for that. Neat. And then we'll start getting those boxes out in March.
Neat.
Yeah. Hi everyone, it's Rachel here, and I wanted to take a minute to tell you about one of our regular programs at the library. Our Classic Book Club picks a new classic book title to read every month, and then meets every second Thursday at 6 p.m. to discuss the title that they've just finished reading. The Classic Book Club is always looking for new members, so if you love classic books, or even just the current book they're reading, stop by and join in on the discussion. Extra books are available at the front desk for anyone who has a library card, and this program is for ages 16 and up. There is no obligation to attend every meeting, but we hope you do. For questions about this program, please contact the library. So for this episode, we're talking a lot about Valentine's Day and romance. So Here are some book recommendations for if you love Valentine's Day. And Macy knows all of them because she is the lover of Valentine's Day.
I do, and I am. Let me say, I think that there is kind of a difference between just a normal romance book or a romantic comedy and then one that actually has a theme of Valentine's Day. Yeah. So with that in mind, when I want to read a book that has that Valentine's Day theme, I gravitate towards young adult books a lot. So some recommendations I have for if you just want a book that feels like a hug that's about Valentine's Day. Yeah. One is The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, which I absolutely and utterly love. I read it last year, and it was one of my favorite books I read last year. You've started it, right?
I haven't checked out, and I haven't started it, but I do love Lynn Painter books. They are really great if you're looking for like a good, fluffy romance for sure. And she writes adult and young adult, so that's really good too.
What The Do-Over is about is the main character, she's in high school, and she strives to have what she considers to be the perfect life. She has the perfect boyfriend, the perfect grades, all the after-school activities, and in the book it's Valentine's Day, and she wants to tell her boyfriend that she loves him that day. Well, surprise, surprise, and it's in the summary of the book on the back, she finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her. And it ruins her whole day, obviously. She finds out that she's losing the scholarship she was banking on that day for her summer internship, and it just turns out to be an awful day for her. But she wakes up the next day, and it's Valentine's Day all over again. Okay, and she's like, oh, this is the universe granting me the opportunity to make this the most perfect Valentine's Day. Yeah. So she tries to correct all of her mistakes from the previous day. She fails. She wakes up again. It's Valentine's Day again. So on and so forth.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
Yeah, so it's a super cute read. And in the book, there's a playlist that the author put together to read with the book, too.
Those are always fun, too, when they do that.
I love when authors do that, yeah. So that's a super fun read. Also, another YA book about Valentine's Day is Courtesy of Cupid. And then another one is 11 Paper Hearts. And so those are kind of my YA recommendations for Valentine's Day books. Additionally, if fiction's not really your thing, one nonfiction book I think that goes well with the theme of Valentine's Day is Everything I Know About Love, which is by Dolly Alderton, I think is how you say her last name. But it's not really a fluffy Valentine's book, but what she does, she goes through all these different ages in her life where love has meant something different to her. And so it's not fluffy, but yet it has that theme of, when I was 22, this is what I thought love was. When I was 27, this is what I thought love was. And it's a really neat read, and I enjoy it.
That's nice. That sounds really interesting, too.
Yeah.
If you don't like YA and you don't necessarily want to read a nonfiction, there's a couple of adult titles that are on theme with Valentine's Day. And one of those is X's and O's by Amy Lee. And I think you know more about that one than I do.
Yeah,
but it does,
I do.
The cover's really cute, but I don't know much about the plot.
So in short, the main character in this book, she's a social media influencer, and she decides that for this year around Valentine's Day, she wants to get love right. So she goes through and contacts all of her exes that she's broken up with in the past, in hopes of one of them being her Mr. Right.
Yeah, as you don't do in real life.
No, you do not do that in real life. That is a horrible idea. Exes are exes for a reason. Yeah. But she, additionally to being a social media influencer, she is a romance novel enthusiast. And so one reason why she's broken up with so many guys in the past is because just none of them fit her standard.
Yeah, her expectations.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Someone from her past comes into the picture that she was not intending on ever rekindling things with, and that's kind of where the plot takes off.
Interesting. And then our last one on our recommendations for books about Valentine's Day is called The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. And this one's kind of a different type of Valentine's Day book, I feel like. It's about these 3 different women who have, different lives. And they, all 3 of them are somehow involved with the same guy.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of a mystery element where their perceptions of what's happening with the relationship are different. And one of them ends up with him, which is kind of like a different kind of, I don't even know how you describe that kind of a plot.
Right.
But yeah, it seems kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's for sure a different plot. I would say out of the books on this list, it's the one to read if you like happy endings, if you like Valentine's Day, but you're not into the super fluffy aspect of Valentine's Day, but you still like a good ending.
Yeah.
This is the one for you to read. Maybe you are someone who prefers their reading material on their phone, whether it be in e-reader format or audio. One of the services offered with a library card membership is access to the application Libby. Libby is operated through Missouri Libraries to Go and offers a wide selection of audiobooks and ebooks that you can download onto an electronic device for a circulation cycle of 3 weeks. Any items you borrow through Libby do not count towards the 10-item limit you are allotted with us here at the library. For more information on how to utilize this application, call us at 573-756-5779. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we want to take some time to recognize Black History Month. So we thought one of the ways that we would do that in this episode is to go over some books that we've read and some recommendations that we have that feature Black females as the leads of the story.
Our first title on our list is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. And Legendborn is a series in our YA section, our young adult section. There are 2 books out now, and not a completed series. And it follows our main character, Bree, who is 16, and she gets into a special program at a university where for gifted students to experience college life. And she gets pulled into a secret society at the college that has a lot of mysteries and magic surrounding it. Everything about the secret society revolves around the legend of King Arthur.
in addition to kind of the overriding plot of her being involved in the secret society, she makes friends that kind of introduce her to the secret society that she develops a love interest with. And there seems to be problems on the campus at first, but as the story goes on further, it's much, much deeper things at work, which is kind of what brings up the whole King Arthur aspect to it.
Yeah. And you don't have to know very much about the legend of King Arthur to understand that part of the plot. I feel like everything's pretty well explained for the fantasy element, but it's also a really great action-adventure story. Like you said, there's the elements of romance. A great cast of characters. Bree has a lot of really interesting friends and that are people part of the society. There's also this mystery element because Bree doesn't know what's going on with this society. She kind of gets roped in initially because she's at a party where she sees something that, is definitely a fantasy creature, and nobody else can see this creature, and somebody else comes in, and he's called the Merlin, which is part of the King Arthur legend that goes a lot deeper, but he tries to wipe her mind initially so she doesn't see the thing that she sees or remember it, but it doesn't work. So she gets roped into these dangerous creatures and dealing with the fallout of knowing about the society because it's not something she should know about. So yeah, it's a really great book, great series. I'm excited to continue when we get news on the third one because I don't know that there's a date for that. And our second title is an adult book called The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I just started reading this one not too long ago, so I'm not super far. But so far it follows these twin sisters in a southern town around 1960. I think it might be the late 50s or 1960 era. And their experience with leaving this small town life and going out into the world separately, and just experiences from the time period for them. They're both Black characters. The part I'm in the novel now, it's still pretty early, but they kind of talk about them each going out and having children of their own, and then I think it follows them generationally, so I think it's going to span a lot more years. So kind of a family epic, historical fiction.
That sounds really cool.
It's a good book.
The third book that we wanted to talk about is a book I have actually read. It's Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. It's actually this author's debut novel. I read it a few years back when it first came out. It's about a 25-year-old Black young woman. She babysits for a white family as her job. And where the story takes off is that when she's with the child that she babysits in the supermarket, she's accused of kidnapping this child. Okay. And the story takes off from there because it's about, from that moment, her life revolving around that for a period of time and her growing from that. In addition to that context, it also is just about a 25-year-old person who has no idea what she's doing with her life, doesn't know what she wants to do. She's about to lose her health insurance and all of this stuff, and it's also a coming-of-age novel to a certain degree. So I definitely recommend it. Another book we want to talk about is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I would assume a lot of people are familiar with, even if they haven't read it. It's a classic.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite classics, and it follows the life of the main character whose name is Janie, at least I think that's how you say it, and it follows her life as she leaves her hometown and she works through 3 different marriages and then her journey back to her roots. It's really, really good.
You know, that sounds kind of like a little bit like The Vanishing Half, and that I think that the character kind of has this experience and then maybe goes back to their roots and has it spans a lot of time. That's interesting that they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
Do you know the time period for that one? Because I actually haven't read that.
I want to say, I know that it was published in the 1930s, so I would imagine it's probably around that time frame, but I can't say that with certainty. What's really fascinating about this book is that the author, when she published it, she did a lot of interviews about the context of the book. And if you listen to any of those, it really adds to the meat of the story.
And then our last book is also a YA book called The Davenports by Crystal Marquez. This is a newer fiction title that follows a wealthy Black family. I believe there are 2 or 3 sibling sisters that it kind of follows in the 1910s. So kind of like a maybe less talked about time period in historical fiction, I feel like. And they become wealthy because one of their, I think the grandfather was an ex-slave and he starts this carriage business. So they're a wealthy family when the novel starts. It kind of just goes through their experiences during that time period, experiencing the early 1900s as a wealthy Black family.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it looks really interesting.
Over the last handful of episodes, I feel like we have given out a lot of book recommendations and a lot of ideas on books to read. But I feel like no matter how many ideas you have, if you're in a reading slump, you're in a reading slump. And it's hard to get out of it sometimes. And we're not professionals by any means, but we thought we would give some recommendations or just our personal experience on how we've gotten out of reading slumps before.
Yeah. So, for me, when I am having a reading slump, there's like a lot of different things sometimes that I try. Sometimes it just means rereading something that I really love to get back into like just a book reading mindset, if that makes sense. And that kind of sparks an interest in, maybe that genre again or something.
Right.
Along the same lines, reading pretty much any fantasy, just going back to my roots, I guess, in a way of things that I know that I like. I do tend to be a mood reader, though, so if I'm just not feeling something, it's okay for me to put it down and come back to it later. I mean, you shouldn't have to force yourself to read something if you're not interested in it or if you're just not feeling like reading that. It's always okay to pick it up again later or not go back to it if it's just not your thing. And sometimes being a mood reader, that does kind of mean for me at like an ambiance situation, which sounds maybe weird. But if I can like have a good rainy day and curl up with a book and just like I know I have a couple hours to set aside and just sit on the couch with a blanket and my dog or something, that's also a good
that
way
sounds
for me.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so like for me, just like I'm gonna get so much reading in the next couple hours when I can just sit and I know that I don't have anything planned, and that's also very helpful for me personally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think our ways of getting out of reading slumps are pretty similar. I've mentioned in one of our episodes before, when I was a kid, I loved the Percy Jackson series.
Yes.
I read those so much and so fast. And when I was trying to get back into reading again, I wanted to find something that reminded me of something that I used to love to read.
Yeah.
But was also something new. And so I had picked up Legendborn because it was about young adults. It was about a girl who realizes that she has a power within her that she didn't know that she had in terms of being a part of this secret society.
Yeah.
And that, in a very roundabout way, reminded me of a lot of books I read when I was a kid. I try to find something that reminds me of stuff I used to read a lot.
That's a good idea.
Because sometimes I think a part of a reading slump, it's not that you can't find time to read, it's just that nothing sounds good to you, therefore you don't want to make the time to read anything. So I know that always does it for me. Also, sometimes I just want to read something lighthearted, which is why I go to rom-coms a lot, because they're real quick reads, they're easy reads, they end happily, they're a comfort read.
Also, sometimes I read a really, really good book, and then after I read that book, I can't figure out what to do with myself.
Yes, like a book hangover.
Yeah. So on occasion that happens, I shouldn't say on occasion, because sometimes it happens more than I would like to admit. I tend to do this thing where I find something super similar, like you were saying about going back to reading something you loved. So if I'm reading a fantasy, fairy tale, a little bit spooky or something, I'm just gonna go find something with like the same type of plot. And sometimes that's okay to do too. Like you don't have to force yourself to read something else. And if you read 3 of those in a row, you're like me, and that's fine too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think with reading, people will put a lot of pressure on themselves to read a certain amount or a certain variety, or the book has to be up to a certain standard. The bottom line is you read what makes you feel good.
Right.
You read what keeps you reading.
Yeah. So when you started reading again, and you read Such a Fun Age, was that one just one that caught your eye because of the plot, or do you think that that was something that you were going back to in that case?
The plot was interesting for me. I also think books that I read a lot in my teens were about young women in their life experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, Judy Blume, Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret. It's all about, a classic, but it's all about a young girl's experience in life. And so Such a Fun Age is not comparable to that book. I want to lay that out there, but it's about a woman's life experience. And I think from a young age, I've always been drawn to books that are about someone I can relate to in whatever context and about their experience.
That's a really good point.
This episode, we have talked about love. We've talked about books to read if you love love. We've talked about life experiences, women's life experiences, Black History Month. But so with all that in mind, I think we've covered plenty of ground for this episode.
Yeah, we've given out a lot of recommendations. We talked about a lot of different books, and if anybody ever has a question on any books we've talked about, feel free to leave us a comment or stop by the library and ask us. We can definitely point you in the right direction for a title
for sure
that we've mentioned.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Let us know how you get out of your reading slumps, and feel free to share what your favorite romantic comedies are. Catch you next time.
If you're hearing this message, you listened to the whole episode.
What we really should say is thank you for listening, but as much as we love having listeners, we would love it even more if we saw you at the library.
For questions, call us at 573-756-5779.